Okay, so in this video we're going to download and install OBS Studio. OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software, and it's a free and open source video recording and editing and live streaming application that basically you download and install either on Windows, on a Mac OS, or on Linux. So we're running Windows 10 and we're going to be installing that OBS Studio on our Windows 10 laptop. So when we download it, we can obviously choose which directory on our computer that we'd like to download it to, and I normally just put everything in the download folder so that it's easy to clean out a little bit later. Don't need all of these installers sitting around all over the place. All right, it's a 112 megabyte file, so we'll just pause briefly. And then once it's downloaded, we'll click on this executable and we'll launch the installation program, which will walk us through the setup and installation of OBS onto our computer. Now, just once we click Windows or whichever operating system you're downloading it on, basically get presented with this "Thank you for downloading OBS Studio" page, which basically gives you some options for learning all about what the OBS Studio does. A detailed breakdown of the features, as well as anything around the new and veteran users versions. And so once it's downloaded, we'll click on the executable, which will run the installation and setup program and step us through setting the application up, which is pretty quick and easy. You get presented with this "Thank you for downloading OBS Studio" page, where you are given access to a number of different tutorials, quick start guides, and the OBS Studio overview, which basically gives you detailed breakdown of the features for both new and veteran users alike. So it really walks you through what the application is capable of doing. It's a real robust program and application that basically gives you a lot of options and opportunities to create really, really cool videos, which you can later upload to various different social media platforms or your website, or basically just keep locally on your hard drive. It's also a forum that you can visit. And there's a community Discord as well, which is pretty cool. And you can see that the forum's pretty busy with Windows support, Mac support, Linux support. So if you have any issues whatsoever, you can pretty much come here, click on whichever operating system you're having issues with, and then get the support that you need to be able to troubleshoot and resolve any issues that you have after installing it or even during installation. You can see there's the latest posts here, which basically are posts of people having a number of different issues, from audio to fonts to how to make audio inactive, etc., etc. And there's a number of different development forums as well. Topics in this forum around ideas and suggestions, general development, resource requests, etc., etc. as well, which you can contribute if you're really interested in getting involved in the OBS project itself. With that being said, we click on the installation folder where we downloaded it, and we'll just run the installer from there. Just I'm screen sharing on two different screens, so I'll bring up the setup. You'll get presented with this. Do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? And we say yes. And then we'll just step through the installation and set up one screen at a time. Right, so welcome to OBS Studio 27.2.4 setup, and basically this will guide us through the rest of the installation. Click on next. This is just your GNU general public license information. It's standard across most applications. You'll normally see this type of license and usage information on what you can and allowed to do with this application, as well as some of the sort of fine print just to help protect the company and protect various different country laws from any kind of copyright infringements and that type of thing. We don't really need to read it. You probably should. It depends, if you're thinking of doing something that you shouldn't. Well, this is just your standard GNU a license agreement. So read it if you would like to see what that's all about. Click next. Destination folder, now you can just leave it in the program files folder, OBS Studio default, or if you have a separate drive that you use for installing applications on, which sometimes speeds things up on some systems to have the application run in a different drive. You can choose a different drive there just by clicking browse and looking for a different option as to where you would like to install this. We'll leave it in the destination folder and click install. You can click on show details. It's just basically copying a whole lot of installation files, INIs, DLLs, all that kind of stuff, registry keys, all sorts of really cool stuff that you really don't need to know much about, but just know that this is what's happening in the background. And you can see that it's creating the folder and subdirectories under the OBS Studio directory, which is now in your C: program files directory, which is the main directory for all applications on a Windows system. Installation is really quick. As you can see, it's 99, 100%. Still copying and extracting now all of the files that it's downloaded. It's now extracting and unpacking, etc. And now we are ready to launch the OBS Studio software. You could view the release notes if you want, and that will launch a separate sort of notepad document. I'll show you what that looks like anyway, but we just click finish. There was actually a link there as well for us to the starter guide. So if you are new to OBS Studio, you are taken to these. You can click on that link, and then there's a starter guide option for you. As you can see, I'm recording right now, and you can see that OBS Studio is already up and it's picking up my mic. As you can see over here, it's recording. It's not actually recording because I haven't recorded, but you can see that my mic is active within the application itself. You could now do auto configuration and run through optimizing for streaming, recording, etc. You just got to choose more or less what you are thinking of using this application for, and then it will optimize accordingly. So if you're planning on streaming a lot and recording is secondary, then you would choose the first option up here, and it would optimize the application so that it's used to stream. It will probably look at your internet connection, look at various different other things where with regards to audio and video, outputs and bandwidth and throughput and all that kind of good stuff to check and make sure that your system is capable of streaming and doing a live stream. So as you can read over here, the auto configuration wizard will determine the best settings based on your computer specs and internet speed. So it really depends on what your system looks like and what kind of internet connection you have. All right, the other option is to optimize just for recording. So if you want to record like we're doing now, we're just recording the screen and we're not streaming, then this is the option that you're going to use, and it will still check all the other options available, the specs, etc. of your computer to see what the best options are for you to record, because screen recording does take some compute power and resources such as RAM and CPU and all of that kind of good stuff. So it depends on what kind of processor you have in your system, as well as the amount of memory that you are using and how much the program needs to be able to run effectively. If you're only using the virtual camera, so you're not recording the screen, then that's just fine. You'll just use your virtual camera and you'll just be recording yourself basically, or something in the room, or using your camera to record off screen, basically, is what that means. So we're, in this case, going to be optimizing just for recording, and we're not going to be streaming, so we'll select that as the option. All right, so specify the video settings you would like to use. Typically, we just use their base canvas resolution, which is pretty much what this screen is, this display is configured at, which is 1920 by 1080, which is fine. And then we've got our frames per second, which is FPS, basically is either 60 or 30, but we prefer 60 when possible. That just gives better quality video. Frames per second, basically. You can either choose 60 or 30, but prefer higher resolution. You can use current, which is 30, but we do want to try and maximize our options there in terms of going up to 60 when possible, and that would just give us better quality, video quality overall. All right, so the canvas here, if you look at the note that it's got you, the canvas base resolution is not necessarily the same as the resolution you will stream or record with. And your actual stream recording resolution may be scaled down from the canvas resolution to reduce resource usage or bitrate requirements. At the end of the day, you want a quality video. You don't want the audio to break up, and you don't want the video to break up, and you don't want any kind of delay on the screen, which will affect the quality of the video and the message that you're trying to put out there, right? So we'll click next, leave it at the highest option. And then that basically does an assessment of your current system. So we've got the hardware QSB encoder that's there. This program is determined that these estimated settings are the most ideal for you. Might not be that it's there, might be that it needs to just install it or copy it into the registry. The recording quality, highest quality, so medium file size, which is fine. And then the base canvas resolution, as we chose before, is 1920 by 1080 pixels, and the output is scaled at the same. And then our frames per second set at 60. So to use these settings, click apply, and we'll apply. And that's pretty much it. We've got our default settings set up, and we have OBS Studio installed and ready for use. Now in the next video, we'll talk about how to use OBS Studio, some of the cool tips and tricks, how to navigate through all the different tabs, file, edit, view, docs, etc., etc. You get scene collection and tools, all sorts of really cool things to help you create really cool videos. I hope that was helpful. You can see that on the right here, we've got start streaming. So you could still start streaming if you would like, but we haven't added any video sources yet. So we haven't been, we're not ready to stream, obviously. So we don't want to stream a blank screen. But essentially, I'm just letting you know that once you have a video here, you can start streaming it. So it's not necessarily live streaming, guys. I think there is an option for live streaming, but you could take a video that you have recorded and just stream it as if it's live stream, right? It will go onto YouTube or wherever as a live stream, but you don't necessarily have to be live at the same time, if that makes sense. Now, obviously, if there's comments and you're reading user comments and answering comments on a YouTube live stream, you most definitely want to be live. But in this case, there are options for you just to live stream a pre-recorded video, which is not ideal, and it kind of defeats the purpose of live streaming. All right, you can also start recording. You can start your virtual camera, and there's studio modes, various other things that you can use here, and settings, etc., etc. So there's lots to learn around OBS and what it's used for and what it's capable of doing. We'll cover that off in a different video. For now, this was installing OBS Studio, going through the setup of the application, choosing the right presets and defaults for the application itself. And with that being said, thanks for watching another WebbyTuts tutorial.